Hello, hello. Okay. What's up, my people? Let me see if y'all can hear me. What is up, beautiful people? Can you hear me good? I want to be in my mic. All right, y'all. I have a weird setup today because the kids and I are not at home. We are we're in the car. Okay. I think my mic is on. All right, y'all. Oh my goodness, this is I don't like this setup. I don't like to be like on the bed like this. It just all feels weird. Y'all, give me a second to make this not be weird for me. No, I have to read the comments, so I gotta be right here. Dang. Zim. Okay, I could set this up here. There's like no way to really do this. Okay, I could do that. What's up, you guys? We're gonna have a really amazing conversation today. Mm, Let me know where y'all listening to me from, and let me know if y'all can hear me. It just feel I am in my homegirl's bed, y'all. This is the best place for me to do this live. We are in the car right now, and if I would have known it was gonna look like this, I probably really wouldn't have come on here because I don't like how this looks. It just don't feel right. Like I want to be in front of my desk. Hey, hey, and I can't see you because the chat is all the way back there. But thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna talk about going 50-50 today. Should women be agreeing to going 50-50? I'm gonna tell my story and how it was for my marriage and what was done when it comes to money. I'm going to tell you the truth that no one ever talks about when it comes to generational wealth. I'm sorry, y'all, because it still just don't look right to me. But yeah, we're going to get into it. Okay, I'm going to wait for a couple more of you guys. Where are y'all watching me from or listening to me? I'm streaming right now on my YouTube channel and on Facebook. Okay, this is not bad. This is looking better. If you guys are used to watching me stream, you know this is not my normal setup. The kids and I are in the city for camp, and I'm in my homegirl's bed, okay? I'm gonna try to pull up the chat here because my setup is kind of. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. So a lot of you guys don't really know my story. I feel like if you've been following me like in the past 6 years, 5 or 6 years, then you might see me as just like, this fairy like lady that be like dancing, revolutionary solo mom. But if you have been with me for 8 years or longer, which many of you guys have, then you watched me through two of my relationships, through my marriage and through my most previous relationship. And okay, like you've been here. I'm um, very open with still a lot of privacy, clearly, because a lot of y'all still don't know details about like how I transitioned out of working and what that was like, that whole thing, right? So I want to tell my story first. I want to talk about how that happened in my my belief system when I'm in a relationship, when I'm with a man, and what I feel about like working, and what the plan always is for me. And yeah, we just gonna go from there with all the things. This big debate about women not wanting to go 50-50 and men, a lot of men wanting to, and then a lot of men that don't. Mm. Don't I seem like I'm? Do I feel like I feel like I'm falling off the bed? Like it seems crooked. I don't like this line here. Ooh. Okay, so starting with my marriage, I got married really young, you guys. I wasn't even old enough to drink at my wedding. Like legally, I could not even drink at my wedding. What's in what? Which is funny because today it seems strange to get married young, but the more back we go in history, women were getting married when they were girls, like not even women yet. So getting married young is actually really normal. We're just now coming out of that, which I think is a great thing because we need to be telling young men and women, you can wait. Like I'm grateful for my journey. I'm grateful for getting my experience in really early. I learned really quickly about marriage. I mean, before my marriage that was almost 10 years, my my previous relationship was 6 years. So your girl been married since she was like 13, okay? I talk about this a lot, guys, about how my single life experience is so different from a lot of women because I did have the um the American dream picket fence experience, early on. I bought my first home when I was like 23, like that whole thing. And so I know what it's like to be with men, to be married to men. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm telling my story. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm also going to talk about we're going to get all up in this whole thing, y'all. I got so many jewels to share with you guys. There's one subject that we never talk about when it comes to generational wealth. And your girl is about to school you. I'm about to put you on game, okay? All right. So, got married young. I was working. I worked like my history in work. What is call center work? So I've always worked at a call center. And while I was working at a call center, while I was getting married, I was making more money than my ex husband. So I'd always made more money than him. He didn't have like uh, a trade or anything, and he didn't have like a certain type of job. He would do like factory jobs. He would work anywhere. It'd just be certain jobs that he would work. They're like a lot to like tip agencies where a man can get paid. Back then because this was 2012. Maybe making like 17 an hour sometimes, and then like way less, other times $10 an hour. So my ex-husband was working jobs like that, and I was working at these two solid call center jobs where I was making like $18 or over, right? And back then this was kind of decent. Like this was kind of decent to make 18 or over 18 back, what, 14 years ago, 15 years ago. And so yeah, we did that for a little bit. Um, there was a time that I realized it wasn't too far into our relationship. I think it was probably right before we got married, where I realized that because okay, so here's the thing. We had our family already created. We both came into the marriage with one um child, okay? So it was just like I got to the point where I realized I'm making the money to I'm paying most of the bills because I'm making more money than him. But um, your bills, I mean, your income is just paying for daycare because daycare is so expensive, like just like it is today, which today is like, I can't even believe the prices of daycare today. But over 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was also unbelievable. So I just remember being like, yo, you're literally going to work so that you can pay for our kids' daycare when you could really be at home. We wouldn't have to pay for daycare. You could be at home watching the kids when I'm at work. And then when I'm off of work, you can be going to school to get your trade. Because this is how I look at it, you guys. Now, some of you women, I hope that there are some married women in here or women that are working. So this is how I look at it because even though there's this whole thing about, a man need to take care of you and da 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 da, and I agree that I'm probably going to get into this more too, like just the way that biology is set up, a woman does not need to be pregnant and working and going through her 3 to 4 years of postpartum and all the things that goes with that. Me personally, you guys know, or a lot of you guys know, I get this condition called HG when I'm pregnant. So I'm extremely sick. Any man that has been with me while I've been pregnant, which I haven't had an experience of, someone not being there, and they always have to show up. Like, you got to take care of me because I am literally on bed rest the entire time. And so it doesn't make sense for women like me to get pregnant. It doesn't make sense for a woman that will, end up getting diabetes when she's pregnant, which is such a common thing. Preeclampsia. Like, there's so many things. Like, we just can't be risking it, acting like it just makes sense to go 50-50 all the time, just whatever, right? But this is how I feel. I feel like when I'm in a relationship, I don't want my man to be slaving either, though. Like, I don't want to be slaving. And why would I want my man to be at work all day? That doesn't even, to me, that's the only way. And I'm not trying to put anyone down because maybe you love your job. I don't really know too many people that do. Maybe you love your job. Maybe both of y'all love what y'all do. But I think that's the only scenario that you could be in, unless you're just not thinking. Like, you really truly think that work is the only way to where you would want your man to be going to work and to be tired and, slaving. Maybe he's not necessarily slaving. Maybe he has an easy job. But I feel like for me, especially if we have children, if we have small children, I want my man's at home. Okay. So if we have to be in a dynamic where neither of us are entrepreneurs, and this is where I got to the point, what I'm saying as far as my story, because at first, like, we came into the relationship both working. I didn't, he's working as well, but then he's not making as much money as me. I realized that his money is only paying for daycare and maybe like one bill. So I'm like, I can just take care of that bill. You can go to school, and we're no longer just funding daycare when the kids, can be with their dad, throughout the day. And so because I'm always like, especially if I'm going to be with someone and we're in this loop of work, we need to find a way to get out. Not everybody has to want that desire, but I feel like if you got your thinking cap on as a human being, jobs are not actually security. You can lose your job anytime. So I'm in my early 20s at this time, and I'm just like, yo, if we're going to do this, our goal needs to always be to get out of this, because who the hell want to be working until you're 50, 70 years old, And so, is that all that I want to say to that? I think, yeah. So then he agrees to do that. So he ends up going to school for aviation, and I end up I'm working, and my whole thing is that because I know now that I have this condition. I'm on my second child after we get married, and I realize, okay, I'm having this condition. I want to have more children, and I don't want to be working and dealing with this condition when I'm having these children. So I need to find a way to get out of work, period. So him going to school is an even better idea, and I would like to homeschool our kids. So he goes to school. He goes to aviation school. He ends up landing a job with Elon Musk. This is by the time that I had Titus and we were in LA. And so now the goal has transitioned a little bit. Ladies, I know that you don't like to be the only one working or yada, 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 but that's what had to happen in a real marriage. And this is why, if you watched my video a few months ago where I talked about the dangers of women in this soft life thing, where women are desiring soft life, but where women are painting the picture that we can only have a soft life if there's a man involved, because it just doesn't always go that way. Sometimes your husband can be the breadwinner and then he loses his job, and then what? You might have to pick that up. Like, you might have to do that. So I think that it doesn't give us a realistic view on what marriage is. If you don't like the idea of marriage, like a part of marriage being that your husband can get injured, he can get disabled, he can lose his job, and you might have to pick up, then you're not being realistic. Because Not everybody's man is going to be rich. You know, just like not everybody is supposed to be entrepreneurs, not everybody's man is going to be a wealthy man. So unless we want to continue with this delusionality, ladies, that everybody is going to get them a rich man that's going to take care of them, that's not really what marriage is. Marriage is a sacrifice. Marriage is serving. And most of us are not ready for marriage, and we're just, you know, getting into it so quickly and not really realizing, like, people don't talk about this part of marriage. You know, they don't talk about, you know, that your husband could be working and then something happened and then you end up having to do a shift, and you know, and it's a whole new world for you. So so yeah, we're doing that. So then he's working now. I'm not going to get into the details because that was like a bunch of like figuring out how he could work. There was some things that were coming up with us moving to LA. And so then I'm able to stay home. So I worked my last job, which I have to do a story time on how I stopped working. Tell me, y'all, let me know in the comments. I'm gonna skip this part, but let me know in the comments if you're interested in knowing why I went, like how I went to work one day and then I just quit my job. Okay. If you're not interested, I'm gonna skip over that. And sorry if I get the chat late. I'm gonna skip over that for another story time because that's a whole story within itself. All right, focusing. I stopped working and I start homeschooling the kids. Now, this is the part of finances. Let me make sure that I'm staying on track. This is the part of finances that we need to be talking about. Hold on. Let me think. Let me go back. Okay. Before I get into what happened for, you know, after my divorce, I want to pedal back and talk about this secret to generational wealth that nobody talks about. Okay, you guys have probably, like, if you see me, if you've been following me for years, like over 10 years, and you probably see me talk about this. I used to go in about this subject, but I don't think I've ever done a video about it. And so what I talk about is how there is this delusional way of thinking where we think that we're saving money if we go 50-50. If there's a man or a woman in the house and there's a man making income and there's a woman making income, and I'm talking about the dynamic of there being children, by the way, because why are we talking about generational wealth if there's no kids involved? You need kids to have generational wealth. So and so we're thinking that, okay, if she has money and he has money coming in, then we're saving. But really what's happening is that it's like the same thing as a person being single, because that means that even if she's paying his bills or vice versa, there's his income going to his thing and then her income going to her thing, even if it really is the other way around. It doesn't really matter the arrangement of bills. It's two people, it's two incomes. So that's still one income each. It's not actually the splitting and the saving that we think is happening, because we're talking about the bills still being for each individual and the usage still being the same, right? I want to share this book that, because I've studied generational wealth for many years. I used to teach my kids about what it means. There's this thing that we forget when we talk about generational wealth. What people think, we think that generational wealth is about making money, like you as the parent, you get your business or however it is that you come up with the wealth, and then you pass it to your kid. Boom. Now you have created generational wealth. That's not true. That is not generational wealth. Accumulating money that you leave for your kids is not generational wealth. Generational wealth is wealth that is passed on through generations. So it would have to go beyond your children. Your children would have to pass on the money at least one time, and now you have created generational wealth. But you creating money in your adulthood and then giving it to your kids, that's just making sure your kids is good. You know, that's making sure that they're set up, but you didn't actually create generational wealth. Before I go forward, I want to reference this book. Everybody should read this book. I've been reading this book. I've read this book like 8 times. I've been reading this book for, I don't know, 13 years now. It's called Family Fortunes, and it's this guy that studies. He spent years studying families that have created generational wealth over 100 years. So it's Family Fortunes: How to Build Family Wealth and Hold On to It for 100 Years. Do you guys know how hard it has to be? Do you know how hard it has to be for you to create wealth that passes on for 100 years? We about to get into this, y'all, because this whole 50-50 thing does not make any sense if you're trying to build generational wealth. What normally happens when adults create money, let's say a couple gets together and they start a business, or whoever has the business first or whatever, and they have this wealth and they're able to pass it on to their children. What happens most of the time in any kind of I don't know if you call them like a divorce attorney, a family attorney, they will vouch for this. They will tell you that the majority of times what happens when a family leaves wealth to children is the children fight over the wealth when the parents are dead. The children fight over it. They sell the properties to the bank that have been trying to buy it, or to the government. They are, in rivalry now, and it's a bunch of chaos. And a lot of times they're grieving at the same time, and they're just exhausted, and they just want to get rid of the assets. So, I mean, they might give it to a girlfriend. They might, they might do something with drugs, or like there's so many different things, but it's normally not what people think when they think, okay, I'm going to create this wealth and I'm going to leave this money for my kids. The majority of times, and I can't remember the percentage, but let's say it's definitely over 50. I'm definitely going to say it's over 60% of the time when wealth is, now this is according to this book, whenever I read this book that I just gave to you guys. Yeah, I'm going to say it was at least over 60% of the time that wealth is actually not passed on. And the common denominator, the factor that changes that, the biggest factor where it's been proven over and over again on how to actually create what is real generational wealth, is when there is a matriarch in the home. That is the time. So this particular book, he studies, like, I can't remember, there's the Rothschild family, Rockefeller family, and there's, like, I don't know, let's just say 10 other wealthy families, right? And I know those families don't have the best, the best reputation, but they did build their wealth from the ground up, from strict poverty. And the reason why the matriarch makes the world of a difference in whether or not you can duplicate, which is really creating generational wealth, is because these children who become adults, who end up selling off their parents' property and fighting over the assets and everything, they don't have emotional intelligence. They don't have what a mother or a matriarch brings to the table when it comes to a family, which is your attunement of yourself, who you are, your identity. It's you being able to use your intuition and to feel and to process your feelings. It's the healing of the trauma. All of that is the matriarch's part. And when you are trying to build wealth and you have this couple who believes that they should go 50-50. Now, of course, everything I say here is not like, it's not that if you do it that way, it's going to be impossible. Like, you could do it however you want. But the way that has been proven to work for hundreds to thousands of years, it has been for there to be a matriarch in the home, because building generational wealth is not just about finances. And honestly, it's not about finances at all. Like, the money is the extra thing. Like, it's the bonus thing. What it really is the family structure. It's the family having a tight knit on who they are, their morals, their values. This is what carries on and really creates generational wealth. And you cannot do this when the matriarch is in survival mode, when she is trying to figure out how to pay the bills as well. In this video, I'm not going to be telling you whether or not you should go 50-50 with a man. I'm going to tell you guys the truth about what happens when you do, because we think that we think that we're getting ahead the curve because we're splitting the bills, which again, and in this book, the guy, he breaks it down way better than I am as far as like the science, like the economic science of how a man and a woman splitting bills is actually not doing anything. It's the same thing as if you were living on your own. So don't get mad at me for that. Okay, he's the economy, the economic expert, you know. And you can listen to the book. It might be free on YouTube, but I listen to it on Audible, and you can get all that information as far as that goes. If you guys are enjoying this live, please hit that thumbs up and share this live. This is like a really important subject. You should share this. Okay, so let's move on. Generational wealth. What else? I had these little points that I wanted to make sure I made because it's so many levels I want to hit. And when I went live the other day and I was talking about my favorite thing about living here, like what I like about living here as a woman, I should have wrote down my points because I got to do that live again. There was like, I missed stuff. There were things that I missed. I was like, wait a minute, dang, I forgot about this. I forgot about that. Okay, so generational wealth, the matriarch, emotional intelligence is what you need because that is actually what carries money on. If you have, this is what happens. Like when the parents die and you have these children that are fighting, they're fighting from a lot of times stuff that happened when they were kids, like unresolved situations that have been building up for years and years. This is something that if you are the breadwinner, unless you are a woman, I'm not going to make it seem like it's impossible because single dads can do this as well. But unless you are a woman, you normally don't have the capacity, the emotional and intuitive and nurturing capacity to, first of all, do both, because a woman is very likely to do both. But then there's just so much of yourself that may not be a container because patriarchy doesn't teach men that they can express themselves and they can, heal. And we know that, men compared to women, men are seeking healing less, men are avoiding therapy more. So, this isn't anyone's fault, but man is the one that says you can't cry, only girls cry, things like that. So it's very difficult for a man to do this, to be the breadwinner and also to be take the matriarchal role. And it's harder for a woman to do both, but a woman can do both. Women have done both, but it is obviously, you know what? Let me not say it's harder. I'm going to say that it can be more challenging because everybody's story is different. I'm sorry, I got to read these comments like this. It's all about building it for your last name. It is all about building it for your last name. Tell me what you mean by that. What do you mean by building it for your last name? Because if everything is in your last name and it's just about like your legacy and all that, if your children are emotional, if they don't know how to control themselves, and if they have resentment towards each other, then it doesn't even matter about the last name. Your last name could be Ooper Noodle. Like it doesn't even matter what's in the last name or what, you have to build this foundation in your family very young. And there's a couple of traits that happen with families that have been able to pass on what is true generational wealth. Most of them, and this is literally like a good 90, I'm gonna say 98. he gives the actual numbers in the book. 98%. Those children do not go to public school. Those children go to private school or they are homeschooled. The majority of children, I'm gonna say this again, the majority of children that have successfully, went into adulthood and actually passed on wealth for generation and generation, these children were either homeschooled or they were private schooled. Because normally public school kids are not, like, it's too much distraction. It's too much exposure. You're exposed to too many things. If you don't believe me, check out this book. If you don't believe this book, check out more, read more articles and read more books about how to pass on generational wealth. Because a lot of us, you guys, we just talk about generational wealth. Like we say like really catchy things. And you know how there's like been this trend for the last like, I don't know, 12 years for everyone to be an entrepreneur or for every woman to get with a rich man. Like humans, like we go with these certain like processions of, I don't know, like what do you call them? Trends, I guess. And we just kind of go with whatever's being said around that. But most of us that are talking about generational wealth and how to build it and that we want to and really like making it a goal, we don't actually study it. Like I never see anyone that's actually read books, like literally finished a book on what generational wealth looks like for other families that have successfully done it and how to actually do it. And you do have to read on that. Like unless you do it on an accident, but again, what people are normally talking about when they're talking about generational wealth, they're talking about creating wealth for themselves and passing it to their kids. That is not generational wealth. Generational wealth is when your children is passing it on through generations. That's a difference. It's very easy for you to get assets and put stuff in your kid's name and yada yada yada. You can what is the process of like putting your children on the payroll and having it, there's all those little loopholes and stuff which are really great and you should utilize if that's what you're into. But when we're talking about generational wealth, we're talking about your children having the emotional stability because they have a matriarch in their life that's able to be a container from them from a really young age. And they're also not exposed to so much of what's in the outside world. You do got to be different. And that's why I love this book. He talks about how these families that he studied that have built wealth for over 100 years, there's certain traits that you just see this pattern. And it's family that it's not a mediocre family. You can't be a mediocre family who has the TV on all day or your kids are on the devices all day and think that you're going to truly pass on generational wealth. I'm not saying that you can't make wealth and give it to your kids because you can do that. But for your children to actually grow up and to keep on your business or to put that in something else and to really see like the control of what that like people don't understand like what happens when people get money in their hands and power, and especially if you have like rivalry with your sibling because you felt like they were the favorite and like they always dismissed you or there was that one time, like this is what be happening in family court. It's like this. So you have to have that foundation of emotional control. And that comes when children are really young and you're teaching them how to have difficult conversations, how to have uncomfortable conversations, how to feel good about talking about their problems. Families that have generational wealth, like I'm talking about the real definition, they have family meetings. You got to have family meetings. If you're a family that truly wants to build on generational wealth, you got to have family meetings. It's just not going to happen like that if you're not. It's just not. I'm not saying you can't pass wealth to your kids. Again, two different things. But your children are most likely not going to be passing on that wealth. They're not even going to know how because you don't give them the foundation for that. And so, yeah, that's always been a goal of mine. It's been a big thing of mine. If you've been following me for over 10 years, like back in like 2013, I used to call myself the matriarch. I think it's so cool that this is coming up now, like as the feminine is, awakening and, the divine feminine in all of us, every single one of you guys, man and woman, we all have, masculine and feminine present inside of us. But I just love how people are starting to talk about the matriarchy or the matriarch, and it's important. It's really important because who's going to do the nurturing? Who's going to make sure that the children are eating good, or that the family is not eating junk food that's causing disease and stopping you guys from getting to the generational wealth. Like there's so many different avenues that have to be hit. And so this is the reason why I wanted to homeschool my kids. And I did develop this plan. Like I successfully developed this plan where my ex-husband was not working, I mean, not making enough and, or, you know, making only enough to pay for daycare. And where I would say, okay, so you go to school, I will keep working. You stay home with the kids. And then as soon as you get your job with your trade and you're going to be making way more money, and you're going to feel better about yourself because like I said the other day on live, I don't know why we act like there's so many men that don't like to provide. Like if you're dealing with a man's man, he's not going to feel like a man if he's not providing. If he's not making more money than you or at least enough money to do things from his own pocket, you know, or he's like always losing his job and stuff, he's not going to feel secure. Like men are we really are wired differently. Men have to feel accomplished. I don't think that women, young girls, you know, we need to be teaching them this. Women should not be dating men that don't feel accomplished. It doesn't mean that he has to be successful and have all of this money and all of this, but you are doing yourself a disservice, woman, if you are falling in love with a man that doesn't feel accomplished. Because for a man to feel like a man, he needs to be accomplished or he needs to feel that way. You cannot love him into feeling that way. He has to have some type of accomplishments. It's just how men are wired. Men are fixers. They're about solutions, they're about action. So there's a lot of that. And when men are docile, when they're sitting around doing nothing, when they don't really know where they're going, they really need that time to themselves to figure that out. They don't need to be trying to entertain a marriage and a relationship. This is something that we should be teaching our children. Just right along with, you guys see me say all the time, we shouldn't be going so fast into relationships. Like we've made these things the norm. You know, when a child is 16 years old, we're like, oh, they're around that age now. It's about that time. No, we don't have to make that normal. You know, 30, 40 years ago, it was normal for them to be having babies at that time, getting married at 17 and 18. It doesn't have to be the norm. We shouldn't be normalizing. We should make it where our children feel weird from being head over heels in love with someone that they only known for 6 months. You don't really know that person. Why are you guys moving in with each other in 8 months? Like that should be weird for us. We should make it where the children feel as though, okay, I really like this person. There's an attraction, but I got to focus on my passions and my creativity first. Like I shouldn't be going straight into this. We could do that, guys. Like as a collective, we can stop asking 8-year-old boys why they don't have a girlfriend yet. We can stop asking 10-year-old boys the questions that we would never ask girls. And, you know, like harpering them because why don't you have a girlfriend? Like it's so weird. It's so weird the way that we groom children into not being successful, like not being able to pass on wealth, you know, and we're just like, oh, it's just they're at that age now, you know, boys will be boys, you know. It's like, no, that's us. That's the adults that are setting the tone and normalizing some shit that shouldn't be normal. So, all right, we got that out the way. We got my story out the way. My ex-husband ends up working for Elon Musk. He makes buku money. We're in LA paying $3,000 rent. Baby, we on top of the world, okay? During this time, I am homeschooling the kids. We're going to the beach every day. If you guys have been with me for a minute on Facebook, this is like when Instagram first started, like even before Instagram. Then you guys seen a lot of this. Why is it dark? Can y'all see me still? Oh my God. I can't see myself. So yeah, I developed this plan and the plan is executed. My ex-husband is working. Now, mind you, let me go back to the plan because my thing again, I don't ever want my man working. Like, I don't believe in that. The way that women be like, oh yeah, he's supposed to be working. So you just want him to work his way into elderly age and just die working? I never want my man to be working too long. So the plan, the goal when I'm in a relationship with a man is always that him working is him working and me not working is to get him out of work. It's so that we both are not working. Can y'all see me? Because it really is showing that I can't. Why is it black? Okay, hold on. I am talking about create. Why did this comment take so long? A legacy business. I'm so sorry, y'all. Values, opportunities, property, and family name that your descendant can be proud of. Uh, uh, uh. Okay, I'm sorry. I need to. Bruh. Why is they playing with me? You guys. I told y'all I'm not at my house. So my setup my setup is a little hood, okay? Okay, generational wealth is about money. Building it for your last name is about legacy. Okay. Descendant can be proud of. Okay, I mean, I'm not here to disagree or agree. I feel like humans we separate things and put things into categories too much. I can understand what you're saying. I just think that there's so many things that are all one thing, and we make them separate things. And many of us are just not that savvy with I don't know, like the intellectual part of all that. So it's like making sure that you have within your family, because what you said, absolutely, like all the different values and morals and things. One of the things that I love about this book, if you're just tuning in, I'm suggesting that you guys read this book if you're interested in knowing why it doesn't make any sense to go 50-50. That's not really doing what people think that it's doing, and how to build generational wealth. And he talks about the matriarchy in there, and he talks about this family. I can't remember if it's the Rothschild or if it's, I think it's some other family that's like you don't even know their names. Like they have like they don't have their real names out to the things that they own. I think they own like a chain of pharmacy stores or something like that in like Europe or something. And he talked about how this family, when someone would be dating someone, like when someone in this family was dating someone and they were serious about them, the rule in the family was for them to take that person that is a potential, potential spouse, to take them to the family ranch. And this person would have to spend a week with the person that they love, that's a part of this wealthy family, and the family itself. And so, not like, a whole hexing event, not like something like, or hazing or whatever you call it, not like that, nothing evil or weird, but just them taking them through these different obstacles and conversations and activities and stuff, and without the person that's dating this family, without them knowing, they are being evaluated by the entire family. And in the book they talked about how a lot of the generational wealth families have things that are similar to this, because they're big on understanding that whoever is married into the family um, can can harm the family. Can poke a hole in the wealth that they've built. And when I say wealth, for families that have successfully transferred generational wealth, I mean not just the money. I mean everything, the values and everything. So I thought that was so cool. I've made my kids listen to this book. Like, we've been studying this book for well over 10 years, y'all. Like they know this book very well. And He shows like the importance of creating like a coat of arms, you know, like you said, a family name, and just knowing like what your values are. And this is just something that I never see people talking about this. And the conversation that Black people so strongly have when it comes to generational wealth, I never see people talking about it from a place that's not like emotional. It's like this is these are studies, you know, like this is proof of how to actually do this, and how it doesn't make sense for two parents to be working and have to deal with the outside world, and then also think that they have the ability to, you know, create the emotional foundation that's needed for the children to pass on the actual wealth. It's just, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it is very, very unlikely. And that's why I said that a woman can do this, but I can even say this from my own personal experience. It's so much easier when a woman is not working a job. Like when she's an entrepreneur and she's making her own money because you have your own schedule, you know, you're not being pulled. Like I am so grateful to, even though I'm not, you know, making the amount of money that I'm going to be making in my business, um, you know, I have been able to create this life for me where I am free as far as my schedule. And so when my children need me, I'm available. I've been very available, like homeschooling them on top of me being the stay at home mom and the person that's making the money at home. It has been, oh, chef's kiss. Okay. I'm so grateful because I've been able to avoid my children being exposed to the world and being programmed. You know, I used to say all the time, if you do not program your children, the world is going to program them. Like you can't expect your kids to go to public school and not be getting programmed. It don't really matter what you do at the house. They are still being programmed by the school as well. But the least that you could do is program them at home. You know, it all starts at home. So me having the privilege of having them at home and then having myself at home, it has definitely made a world of a difference. And my kids have been able to watch me, um, they've been able to watch me grow. They've been able to watch me have multiple businesses and have good days and bad days. I had a day last month where I made almost $3,000 with my business in one freaking day. In one freaking day. The fact that I get to show my kids what it looks like to not make any money from your business, to not get any clients for a whole month, to go through whatever that struggle looks like. And then also on the other side of that, where it's like, hey, today I made $600. Like today in this one day, I made $2,700. Like that is such a blessing. And it's something that's being done not the typical way that we say that it must happen, where you must have a man in the house, where it must be this and it must be that. So that's why I won't say that, you know, other ways are impossible, but I will say that there are certain ways that are unlikely. And that is whenever the parent that is supposed to be the nurturing parent and supposed to be the emotional container is also the parent that is out working the job. That is very hard. You do have to, like, if you want to get out of that, because maybe you don't want to, but if you want to, you do have to make the necessary sacrifices. I've had to sacrifice. I had to sacrifice not working a job. You know, that's my business. For some people, that might look like it's irresponsible to you. It might look irresponsible for me to have went through my divorce and not go right back to work. For me to have said no, I'm going to make it work on my own, and you know, and go through whatever that looks like. Some people can't do that. That's your business, you know. So it's just about whatever we're willing to do and whatever we're able to. um but yeah, this is going to lead me into the next part of what I want to explain. So after my marriage, when I split from my ex-husband, mind you, ladies, tap in right now, because the obsession that we have with being stay-at-home moms, and we're not talking about the thing that just kind of be having me like my eye be twitching when I see this. We're not talking about moms like saying that they want to stay home so they can, you know, nurture the kids and be there for the kids or whatever, but then also build their own. Like, I'm not seeing that. When my goal was to be a stay-at-home mom, it was so that I could be the matriarch that I needed to, because being at work was way too difficult to also be present for my kids while they're out being programmed by daycare and school. But then also, again, back to my original plan, when I'm with a man, it is to get us out of this financial loop of the rat race. So if if you're a woman that desires to be a stay-at-home mom, and if you're not thinking realistically about how important it is for you to also have your own thing, what about the book that you want to write, or the story that you want to tell, or the channel that you want to start, promoting and being on, or whatever kind of, business or side gig or whatever that you want to do? What happens if your husband's turn is to exit, to exit this earth before you? And what happens if he doesn't have all the things lined up to take care of you for the rest of your life? These are things that people don't think about. And so when not until it happens. And so when us women, when we're going with this obsession of like, a man has to take care of me, I got to be home, like, and especially if, like I said earlier, realistically, the majority of y'all is not going to get with no rich man. Like, I don't know why we think that everybody's going to be an entrepreneur and everybody's going to be a millionaire. Everybody is supposed to, like, everybody's supposed to have both their parents in their life. Like, humans are so unrealistic about life, about how things actually unfold. And so, being that we are not supposed to, and so we are not all going to all have a wealthy man, if you are able to be a stay-at-home mom, and technically, I've always been able to do this at some point. Every man that I've lived with three men. So I've been in three deeply committed relationships, where I was living with a man. And, now my first one, I was hella young. I was like 18. It didn't last long at all. But, I was there. Okay. He was going to work. I'm making his food. This was my practice, because for my marriage, I got married like 2 years after that. But I've never had a man that didn't allow me to stay at home. This is another subject. It's like, why are we acting like men, like there's so many men in the world that do not want to provide and that won't let a woman stay home? It is not hard to find a man that will work, a man that will provide. That doesn't make him the end all be all greatest man. They are out here. There are men out here providing financially and still abusing and cheating on their women. It's really not that unique. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how so many women ended up having the experience where they're dating men that won't let them stay home, men that are okay with not providing. Because in my experience with men, I've never been with a man that felt comfortable not being able to bring money in the house. I've always dealt with men so much that this is a thing where it's stressful for him, that he's not able to provide the way he wants to, that I have trauma from that, if anything, from what happens when a man is not able to provide. Like, I don't know why. I don't know how you guys end up paying all the bills for these men, and how you guys end up having to go to work. And I'm not saying like every man on earth is like that, but I do feel like the majority, or a lot of them, I can't say the majority. I can't say majority, because some niggas like to be at home and just doing nothing. But you're letting him do that, because I have not had that experience. I just don't think that you have to have that experience over and over again. I do believe, from someone that has counseled couples, someone that coaches men, I will die on this hill. There are so many men out here willing to provide. And I think that women, we should stop acting like that's such a rare find. It's not. Okay. So, where was I at, y'all? What was I saying with that? Sorry, y'all, for me to have my edges all in y'all's face. Hold on, I'm gonna cover it up so y'all don't have to. I gotta be able to read the comments. Okay, so what was I saying? What else is happening? All right, let me see what else. Generational wealth. I'm homeschooled. Okay, right. So So then what happens is I'm staying at home. I'm trying to figure out myself. Okay, know thyself. I'm at home with my children and I'm discovering who I am, and I'm finding out all these different, talents and things that I can do. I'm exercising my abilities that I've already had and just finding myself. I'm starting businesses. This is me like at 23 years old. I'm starting stuff. Like I started a clothing line. I was going to sell hair at one point. I was like web designing. I was doing all types of stuff to figure this out, right? And I had the privilege to do it because, again, this plan that I had created, and my ex-husband is now working while I am at home. And by the time that we, ended up splitting, I didn't get to, like, I realized that I'm like, yo, I gotta leave you in order to get to the part of me getting the career, the wealth part. I can't do it with you. So although that was a master plan that had already, like, I mean, shout out to my ex-husband, because if it wasn't for him passively agreeing to that plan, I mean, for one, he wouldn't have a career because, again, he didn't have a trade before, but then I wouldn't have been in that position to be homeschooling my kids. It's not that easy. Like, shout out to the single moms. Like, when you started your motherhood as a solo mom and then you homeschool from there, shout out to you, especially if you're not working from home. Like, that might not be that easy to do. For me, the transition of homeschooling on my own, like single motherhood and homeschooling, it wasn't as difficult because I didn't have to figure out how to homeschool my kids, because I had already executed that part of the plan and my children were already homeschooled by the time I left my ex-husband. It was just about, okay, now what, now what do I do for income, And so, yeah, again, this thing about us being stay-at-home moms, if your ex-husband, I mean, if your husband passes away, if you end up having to leave, if he ends up leaving you for somebody else or something like that, what are you going to do financially? And if you are just a stay-at-home mom, again, this wasn't my plan. I did not want to just be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom that brought money in so that my ex-husband would also not have to work. But I did not get to, accrue the finances before I decided to end the marriage. And so now here I am facing this question of, like, how do I do this? How do I leave with no money? Now we about to get to a whole nother chapter in this story, because people don't talk about this enough. Like, first of all, we act like whoever gets married is supposed to stay married. If there is domestic violence, if there is a toxic couple or whatever, it's just like, she should have chose better. Like, we never actually account for the relationships that did need to end. We have so much, like, obsession, like our human obsession to control people's lives, like the way that people's lives unfold, and we have this judgment that says, if you got married, you're supposed to stay married. If there's kids, you have to stay for the kids, yada yada yada. But what about you not playing God? What about you not playing source, and you not pretending like you were there when the person that they married came together and agreed on what they were actually going to do before they arrived in this earth playing field, like in this timeline? What about that? What about the fact that we plan these things and we agree to these things before we come here? And what about relationships needing to end so that they both can go and do whatever it is, grow and have their experiences? And, like, what about that? Like, we just be like, F that, that's not supposed to happen because you got married. So it's like, it's so unrealistic, when the truth is that there are relationships that begin that need to end. And there are so many women, there are also some men that need to end their relationships, that need to call it quits, that are holding on to a toxic man or a toxic woman a toxic environment. The children are suffering more. There's domestic violence. I don't know why we act like two-parent homes are automatically healthy homes, as if domestic violence is like self-violence. It takes two people. Domestic violence cannot take place with a single person in a single parent home unless you beating on yourself. It takes two people. So how we get this idea that uh that a couple in a home is automatically a healthy home, it is beyond me. It is beyond me the level of thinking that we don't do. And it's kind of messed up because there are even men in situations, there are men out there that are good men, that are domestic men, that are cooking when they come home from work, cleaning up, helping around the house, and they got an ungrateful ass woman. And I have coached men that maybe not physically abusive, even though I do know that that does exist. Men being physically abused does exist, but of course, it's not even near on the level of every 10 minutes a woman or a girl is assaulted by a man. You know, the stats are not near that level, but it does still exist. And what does exist more than men being physically abused by women is men being verbally abused by women. That does exist more. And so there are men as well who need to end their marriages, who need to end their relationships. And we just have this taboo thing that we're just like, you got to stay, like you started it, you have to stay. But that's not realistic. And instead, we should be encouraging people to choose themselves and to choose their children. I just seen a video the other day that was a viral of this girl who grew up with both of her parents in the home. And she was like, please, she was like, shout out to my parents. I just wish y'all would have split up a long time ago. She was like, I just wish y'all would have got a divorce when we was 7 and 8 years old. Like, why did y'all put us through that? And there were so many comments of people saying how much they agreed and how much they wish, like they were talking about what I see a lot in my coaching when a woman finally leaves. The children are like, wow, we never seen you this happy, mommy. Like we never seen you this happy. We didn't even know that you could be this fun. And so this was adults in the comments, talking about how seeing their parents and they're while they are adults right now and they're seeing their parents and they're seeing how happy they are now that they finally have divorced because they waited for the kids to grow up and stuff like that. And they're just like, thank you for finally divorcing, but y'all should have did this 20 years ago. So it's proof that we really should stop. We really should stop with the delusion that just because couples are together, just because there's two people in the home, it means that it's a healthy home. We should stop shaming women for leaving. Even sometimes men use this thing where they be like, well, women file for divorce more than men, or there's like it's 80% of women that file for divorce. Is that supposed to be an insult? Like, how is that supposed to be like something that's a bad thing? If somebody is filing for divorce, it's what they want. There's normally a reason. It's normally not for no reason, especially if they have kids. So it'll just be so good whenever we don't have all of these things, because then you have the fear that so many women deal with. And I swear to God, I'm always getting clients that have this experience. There's always a woman that was with a man and she was a stay-at-home mom and he was the breadwinner, and she ended up finding out that he was cheating or he was abusing her or whatever the hell was happening. And it's taking her, either she's still in the loop right now, or it's taken her through so much to leave and she has no money. Her and the children are in poverty. They are in extreme poverty. And what happens a lot, and this is my personal story, this is a lot of women's story, guys, where they were wives for many years. And because in my case, I was the breadwinner at one point, and then it switched, rightfully so. I didn't want to be the breadwinner unless it was my own bread from my own stuff. I didn't want to be winning the bread from a job. And then as soon as it reversed, as soon as it was my ex-husband that was making most of the money, everything just flipped. Like he was just like, it gives you a good insight on what we act like we can't just do some simple research on, which is the history of women not having their own money. Because we'd be like, oh, women was fighting for their rights and for equality. Y'all fought to work, but now look at y'all. Like, would y'all fight to work for? Because guys, financial abuse is real. People really will abuse you financially. People really will take advantage of you. Parents do this to their adult children. I get sessions all the time of people that are being financially abused by a sibling, by a parent, or a spouse. It literally happens. So, and maybe spousal financial abuse is too big of a word for us, and so it's hard for us to grasp the concept of what happens when you're in a relationship with someone and you ain't got no money, or they got more money than you. There are men that are also in this situation, not near as much as there are women, we know this, but there are men that were the breadwinner. I have to give y'all these examples so that y'all can relate it to women and kind of see a little bit, because we see through what men go through, right? Then it's like, oh. So there are men out here that were the breadwinners and they lost their jobs or whatever thing kind of happened, and then the woman is treating him differently. Same thing happens in reverse. A man will treat you differently with you not having the money. Not all men are out here treating a woman equal and like, oh, okay, yeah, you're at home and I know that you need a break. A lot of men who are the providers are like, what you need a break for? You don't have to go to work. That's happening. Take it from someone that spent years coaching couples. Like, this is really happening in people's dynamics, in people's homes. People are really arguing. Men are really upset with women not having to go to work. So it's not always the case that I mentioned earlier. And so when you are a woman that has been a stay-at-home mom, meaning that you ain't got no money, and you decide that you want to leave the relationship, on the surface, human beings will say, well, why you want to leave? Well, that's your fault, because why you want to, and that's just, we're just really disconnected. We're just really ignorant. Okay. So I'm not even going to respond. I can't talk to that person. Whoever's watching this and you're thinking that, I can't talk to you. So this ain't for you. Okay. This is for people that are thinking realistically about real scenarios on a woman and what it takes for a woman to not only marry a guy and trust a man to lead, but then also to allow a man to impregnate her. Hello, that is like so much vulnerability, that's so much trust. And then for her to have to leave, she's not doing this just on a whim. It's not like, oh, he won't open the car doors for me anymore, so I'm leaving. Like, it's normally something really big. It normally takes a lot from her. It's a very draining experience. You have family telling you that you can't leave because what are you going to do? You have the kids, you don't have the money. So this is a lot of women's situation. Like, there are stats on this. There are statistics. Over 50% of solo moms are divorced moms, divorced and widowed women. So, and they go through extreme poverty. There are stats on that, on women being married and being stay-at-home moms and going through extreme poverty afterwards. And I'm highlighting this because the idea of a man taking care of you, cool. If that's what you want, fine. Like, it's such a trendy thing right now. Go for it. But don't do it in a way where you're not thinking of having your own, because again, your husband can pass away, he can become injured, anything can happen, or the marriage can just end. You can want to leave, he can leave you. There's so many different factors and reasons on why we have to stop with this idea. Like, it's making it seem like like we're making women feel like they can't find true love or they can't find a real relationship unless the man has a bunch of money and he is paying for everything and taking her on trips and like, and that's not really realistic for everybody, you know. And so yeah, there's a thing when it comes to that. And I was watching this podcast. It was Kiki Palmer and I think Regina Hall. I watched a couple of her episodes. I can't remember if she was talking to Regina Hall, but I think so. I think Regina Hall is single. And so these are two accomplished, wealthy, beautiful Black women who are discussing how difficult it is to find a man that is like emotionally intelligent and, you know, all these things. And they're talking about how, like, a side that we don't really see unless you are in a circle of having wealthy women that are friends, which is um, them being made fun of when they get a man that doesn't have more money than them, because women have this idea that the man has to have more money than me, like he has to be the one making all the money. But this idea comes from a woman not having any money, because when you are a woman that, hey, hey, how are you? Who is that? How was camp? It was fun. Okay, is Jada here? Okay. Um, when you are a woman that has your own money, and when you have good money, and especially when the money is coming from your own talents and your own gifts, you're not you're not thinking about who can I find that can pay all my bills. And this is what Kiki and Regina was talking about. And they were saying how a lot of wealthy women end up with men that aren't the breadwinner. A lot of wealthy women end up with men that don't make more money than them. What you call it? Candy Burrows is one of them. Y'all, I'm bad at names, so I can't just sit here and act like I'm about to list off a bunch of women. But there's a lot of women that are wealthy that don't end up with a wealthier man or with a man that can match them financially. And what they were talking about was so insightful because I've thought about this so many times. You only are obsessed with that because you don't have good money. I'm not gonna say you don't have your own money because then y'all gonna be in the comments talking about I got my own money and I still want a man that's making all the money. But I'm saying that when you are a woman that makes a lot of money, like your money is flowing in, why would that be a priority? It wouldn't be. You would be looking at other traits and other things. And a lot of us don't realize that, like, it's really like it's I don't even know what to call it when we come from this history of women not being able to have our own jobs and have our own money in our own bank account. Just 50 years ago we could not own our own property, and that was because men were paying all the bills and taking care of everything. And here we are today, not knowing our history and putting ourselves back in that position. That's why I'm sharing this part about me leaving my ex-husband and not having any money, like making that sacrifice and having to do that, which most women don't end up doing. Most women that obsess over being a stay-at-home mom, they get it, and when the relationship doesn't work out or they end up leaving or whatever the thing is, they end up not they end up not Saba. They end up not actually leaving. They end up staying because they don't think that they can leave because they don't have no money. And you might not even be thinking that that could happen. You're probably like, that's impossible. Um, Even if me and my man don't make it, he gonna do this and do this and this, but you don't know. Having a man that commits to you in marriage does not mean, I don't know why we connect these dots to this, but a man that is willing to commit in marriage does not mean that he is going to stay being a father and taking care of you afterwards. And a man that chooses not to continue to do that, it doesn't even mean that he's a trifling dude and he's just a horrible, like, he could be also going through it. He could be also be like, damn, I dropped the ball. I lost my family. I'm depressed. I'm gonna start doing drugs now, or I'm gonna start, whatever, whatever. It's so much deeper than the way that we describe it. We're so on the surface with stuff. Hold on, y'all. Let me shut this door. But we're so on the surface We think so meteorically. Is that a word? So meteorly. Mediocrity. Um, when it comes to stuff. Because we be like, oh, well, then he's this and he's that, and he don't love you if it's this. He never loved you if it was that. Like, people be going through their battles. People are running. People are running. Men are running. Men are running from their trauma. Men do not have the reality where they have a safe space in other men to process their trauma. So we're talking about a very unhealed species, the species that runs from healing the most, that doesn't know what it looks like the most, that avoids therapy the most, is deep. And the way that we just talk about it on such a surface level, as far as what happens after divorce or after a couple doesn't work out, oh, it's so much, y'all. I just be like, am I really here with y'all? Is this the real reality? Do we all need to have an experience? Like, I feel like we should have been mandated to take a psychology course, like before you're able to become an adult, like before you can drive. I think it should be mandatory that we all take like 2 to 4 years of psychology, because there's so much that we don't understand in what it's like to, I mean, what it takes to interact with the opposite sex, to interact with human beings, like the communication aspect of it. Like, there's so many different levels. And a lot of times, you guys know that most people, we're giving advice and we're judging off of our own personal experiences. So if you didn't personally experience that, unless you're an in tune person, which is normally empaths, you're probably not even connecting with what this person is saying and what they're experiencing, because that's not your experience. And you don't know nobody like that. And you never, like, that's actually what we are going off of, unless you have an experience of like coaching people, doing therapy for years, then you get more of a broader perspective of different people's lives, like what actually ends up happening and how things end up unfolding in people's lives. So it's deep. If you are enjoying this live, please hit a thumbs up. Please share if this live sounds good to you, if you're getting a lot of insight. She about to not shut the door. Y'all, she about to not shut the door. I gotta get back up. Okay. If you guys are just tuning in, I'm telling my story, my financial story in my marriage and after divorce. And I'm sharing about, I shared about why 50-50 doesn't make sense, how a couple that is splitting the bills and they both have income, everybody's always like, oh, it's two streams of income, but it's actually just one income, because it's just the man taking care of him and the woman taking care of her. Not that that's literally what's happening, but two streams of income is two people. That's two uses of things. It's not the saving strategy that we think it is. And if you're someone that is serious about building generational wealth, it's not going to happen that way, because you have to have a matriarch. You have to have someone that is there for emotional support. So I broke that down. I talked about my plan that I executed to be able to homeschool my children, how I was the breadwinner for a little bit while my ex-husband went to school and got his trade. I mentioned how unrealistic it is that we think that as women, we're just all going to get with wealthy men, and they're always going to keep their jobs or their businesses, and they're never going to go through anything that would require us to sometimes take up the money load. Okay, hold on, y'all. I gotta shut it up. Y'all must be listening, because y'all not saying nothing. Y'all must be hella like in tune with the conversation. Somebody get Coast water. I'm gonna go and make some curry in like 30 minutes, y'all. I hope I'm not missing comments. I appreciate you guys for coming in, and y'all ask me any questions. Let's get the questions out the way ahead of time, okay? Because I will get off of the live and then I'll see these questions pop up. Now, why am I not live on my Facebook right now? It says that I'm not live on my Facebook. Hold on, y'all. Oh, because it didn't connect. You mother tucker. Dang. Okay. All right. That's okay. That's okay. So, where am I at with this conversation? Thank you guys for tuning in. That's crazy. I thought I was live on my Facebook. Okay, so what else? What else? Yeah, so the history when it comes to okay. When it comes to women wanting to stay at home and not being able to leave, and there's this history that we have that we completely ignore, where just 32 years ago, you guys, 32 years ago, it was legal for a wife to be raped by her husband or abused. It wasn't until 1994 that this became a criminal thing. And it wasn't until about 20 years before that that women were not able to have their own money in their own bank accounts. So when we think back on the past and we say very ignorant on the surface things like, why are women fighting? Y'all wanted to work. Why y'all tired of work? Da, 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 da. We cannot begin, we could, but we're choosing not to, to fathom what it was like for your grandmothers and for your mothers and your sisters back then. And try not to think of this from the standpoint of being a man, because I feel like that automatically, like us all being programmed with patriarchal mindset, it automatically like snaps us out of any type of empathy with this scenario. Think about this this whole experience that I'm explaining. Think about this from the perspective of being a child, okay? Being an innocent child, and you're born into this family, and your father, you just so happen to be in a world or born into a world where over the last few thousand years, it has been completely legal for husbands to abuse their wives on every level, verbal, financial. Keep in mind that I take people into past lives for a living. I am a time traveler, okay? So I actually go into these experiences and I re experience this with clients. It is nothing like what we are describing. It is nothing like what we think that we're reading in an article or two. Way more gruesome, way more chilling. And the climate of you being a child and your husband, I mean, your father dies, or your father is abusive and so your mom is trying to leave, whichever scenario. The fact is that your mom cannot have her own money. She can't have her own bank account. She can't work. And so if your father dies, your mother has to go be with your uncle or the closest male cousin, which normally does, what's happening, and they did have a sexual relationship, so a lot of times incest was happening that way. And all this has to take place, or she just goes through this extreme poverty that you can't even imagine because she cannot keep her own money. And you're a child that's in the middle of this experience. And so, yeah, that was something that was just happening 30 years ago, and we trickle this down into the future now, into where we are. And what it looks like is not that women can't work. It's not, of course we can work now. We have a lot more equality than we had in the past, but it does look like a bunch of women who were committed in committed relationships or marriages, and they end up staying at home, something that we're promoting so much of and we really, really want to do so bad. And they end up in that same exact experience because unless you are the kind of woman that just wants to get up and go work, which again, like, this isn't normal. It's not normal for children to not have a parent that's home with them that can be emotionally available. Even if the child is going to school, the child needs a parent that's available that says, "Hey, I know that you're going through this. Let's go ahead and take the time out because I have that time because I'm not away from home for 8 hours a day." So, it's just crazy to me that us women that we want so badly for a man to take care of us when we don't understand, like, if unless you think that most men are great, unless you think that most men are great people, which none of you guys watching this really believes that. If you guys really if you can correct me if I'm wrong, if you're watching this and you really believe, like, truthfully, don't try to defend men, try to think about whether you trust your daughter or your son around a group of men versus a group of women. Or would you leave your child alone with two men versus two women? And you have to literally choose one. I think we all know what the majority of our, the only reason why, if you would say no, is because for some reason you just want to defend men so badly. But when men are protecting us, they're protecting us from other men. If a man is walking you home or he's dropping you off and he's waiting for you outside, he not really thinking like, oh, it might be another woman in that house. It can be another woman in the bush. He's thinking about a man. Okay. So unless you think that most men are capable of what, your daughters need, what your mother needed, what women need to be safe, with men, then it's really trippy to me how we have been on this roller coaster, like this road of I need a man to take care of me. Because then what you're saying is you want to be financially abused. Humans are not able to hold on to the power. Like, it takes a special kind of human, man or woman. It takes a special kind of human to be the one that is making all the money moves, and you don't abuse that. Just like the Bible says that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a wealthy man to make it into the kingdom of heaven. Of course, heaven not being the real heaven that we think, but it being a state of mind. The reason why this is so difficult is because human beings, it's because we have ego. Okay, I ain't even gonna get all deep and break it all down like that. It's because we have ego. So because we have ego, it is not that easy for people to be in positions. Let's be realistic, you guys. Relationships, even a happy marriage, you're not always happy. You're not always happy. In a real solid marriage, y'all went through some shit. Like, I don't even trust couples that have never faced divorce. Like, if you're a couple and y'all been together for 15 years and you never questioned if you were going to stay or not, I don't trust y'all. And this is coming from someone that has a lot of experience. I went to school for family and marriage counseling. I have counseled and coached so many couples. I have a lot of experience in this field. So I'm not just speaking from an emotional, personal standpoint or anything. It really is like that. Marriage really is a sacrifice. It really is about serving. So being that all these details are already there, you got to be a person that's healed from your trauma to have this woman that's always, yeah, or whatever it is that she's doing. Maybe she's not. Sometimes she ain't doing nothing, and he got his own wounds from his mother or whatever the thing is. And for him to not abuse his power as a man, even a broke man, even a man that ain't got no money is abusing his power in his home. Okay, that's even happening in his home. But a man that do got some money and his partner that's getting on his nerves for whatever reason, it could be rightfully so, or it could be that he likes men more than he likes women. A lot of men like their homies. A lot of heterosexual straight men like their friends more than they like their wives. This is not a conspiracy. So it can be for whatever reason, but this man being the one that has all the money and she doesn't have any money, she has to actually come to him if she wants something. Realistically, guys, why are we acting Like this is a dynamic that should have never taken place. Like everybody should have their own money, like period. Like just because. So it's one of those things where, like I tell my boys, if you are a husband, you should want for your woman to have her own money because you don't know what could happen to you. Something can literally happen to you. There's new widows popping up every day, okay? Something can happen to you, and or something can happen to the marriage. And if you're a man who is like, you already know what you're doing with your career, you're already financially put up because there's steps to this. You can't really worry about this if you don't got that going. And you should want for your woman to have her own finances. You should not want to, like, this is what equality looks like. It's not where you could be a man that still likes to provide, because there really are men that just love the idea of I'm paying all the bills. Some men really are like, her money is her money and my money is our money. That exists. I know that, we like to call these men simps. I ain't even gonna get into that, but it's a real thing. And so you might end up having that experience, where a man is willing, but if you're a man, then you want your woman to have her own money just in case something happens. And that's what equality looks like. It doesn't look like I have to be the one. Oh, me as a man, I'm supposed to be the one that has the money. It doesn't have those kind of like gender role things. Let's see what else. Mm, Let me know if you have any questions. I'm trying to make sure. I had to make these bullet points, y'all, so that I hit everything, but I don't ever follow it. So sometimes I do. But I think I might have already hit what I wanted to hit. What the hell does this even say? Men who are oh, okay. So then there is the part of, okay, because this is how I feel. This is where I am in my personal life right now. After being a breadwinner, I've experienced that where I made more money than my ex-husband. After being a stay-at-home mom, I've experienced that where he made more money than me, and I've had other relationships where the man was making money and I was a stay-at-home mom. After making my own money by myself, like not having a relationship from my actual talents and gifts, I feel like I don't have to have a man that makes more money than me. I really don't. I don't like where I am, and what my focus is me making money. And I feel like with this culture of women where we want to have a man that's taking care of us so bad, we don't focus enough on the money that we want to be bringing in, because we're so hyper focused on falling in love with this man that's going to be wealthy and take care of us, because we think that all the men that we think that all of us are supposed to be with a man like that. And it's just like, I feel like after all this experience, all these years, and for what I do, I low key need a man like Tabitha Brown's husband. Y'all know Tabby, Aunt Tabby. Her husband was the breadwinner. She said she used to always tell him that she's going to retire him, and she ended up retiring him. And they did this episode that I caught some months ago, and he was talking about what it takes as a man to be secure in your masculinity at a in a place in your life where the reality is that you're no longer the breadwinner, where your woman is making more money than you. And my experience with men, I'm trying to think, because I let me think. Mm. So the time that I was working and my ex-husband wasn't, he actually did go through some self-esteem stuff. Because like I said, if you're dealing with a man's man, men want to work. I mean, they want to make money. They might not actually want to work, but they want to make their own money and they want to be able to provide, right? So I did deal with it then, but I didn't deal with it anytime after that, because I'd not been in another connection with a man where I was making more money than him, right? And so with my experience, I don't even Like, I need a man that is going to be okay with being on the back burner. Like, I don't need for us to both be racing to the top, like, or unless you're racing to the top in your own world, like in your house, which is really what I want. I don't really want to live with a man anymore or for a really long time. Like, I want my next relationship to be where we live separately for a long time. So I just know that I'm already who I am. Like, I'm already showing up in the spaces that I'm showing up in. Um, when when you are in a committed relationship, you become your partner's help, right? You become your partner's server. So if you love someone, you're automatically going to want to help them evolve in whatever the thing is that they're doing. And when I'm in a connection with a man who is still racing to find his financial freedom, and if he's also doing it in a way that is stressing him out, and he is angry, or he's like having emotional, mood swings and all this because he's not feeling like a man, he's comparing himself to people online, all these kind of things that normally are happening. It's too much for me. It's too much for me, and I can't focus. Like, where I would actually need you to be a help to, like, the background. Like, I need technical help. I need other structural help behind the scenes, the parts that you guys don't see. And it's just too hard to be with someone who is stressing about money. I don't be stressing about money. If I do stress about money, it's good that I'm doing it by myself and I'm not like putting it on someone. And so, yeah, I just don't feel like I have to have a man who's making more money than me. Like, I don't have a problem with making more money than my man. I don't want you to not be making no money. That's a problem, because I'm not going to be with the man that doesn't have any accomplishments. Like, if you don't feel accomplished as a man, then we can't do it. But I love what I think his name is Chance. Is it Chase or Chance? Tabitha Brown's husband. I love the way that he spoke about a man that is secure in his masculinity, to where he's okay with letting his woman be the shine, be in the spotlight and be the breadwinner. And he doesn't feel what you call it, threatened by that, because that has the one time that I was the breadwinner, that was my experience, was the guy that I was with feeling threatened by that, and me having to hold him up and hold space for him and assure him that, I'm not going to choose another man because you're not making this amount of money and yada yada yada. And I just ain't got no time for that. I don't. I'd rather have a man that's not making more money than me and that's able to help me make more money. And that sounds crazy to you guys, because a lot of you women are looking for a man to take care of you, versus the women that have their own money with their own businesses. They are not looking. It's the same thing that Kiki Palmer and I think it was Regina Hall. It's the same thing that they were saying, that wealthy women don't look for men to take care of them. It's only women that don't have their own money coming from their own businesses that are looking for a man to take care of them. And when you are not looking for a man to take care of you, you don't have to fall back into what got us under this, in this horrible position as women in the first place, where you are oppressed now because you ain't got no money. Because you needed this man to take care of you, and you trusted that all of the men, it's not all men, but which men are it? Which men are it, and which stage in his life is, are we going to go through to where you don't know what's going to happen? What if your man is a breadwinner and he loves making all the money and he loves taking care of you, but then he gets addicted to drugs or something, or he starts gambling? These are realistic scenarios that I have coached people through. These are reasons for divorce. These are reasons why people split up. So it's just, yeah, we're very unrealistic when it comes to that. Okay, I think that might be it. Let me see what else I wrote. I don't even know what this means. This is why when these messages come to me, I try to go live right away, because if I don't go live, or if I don't write it out right then, I'm not even going to know what the situation was. I said, is it when, where, when it could be, when it could be for me? I'm sorry, I have no idea what this is saying. So that's it. Watch me get this after I go live. Sorry, guys. Um, yeah, but that's pretty much it. I will be so glad when we step out of this obsession with of men taking care of us, and when we're able to look at men for being more than just providers and sometimes protectors. And the only reason why I said sometimes protectors is because unfortunately we have allowed men to think that their role as men is to provide and protect, these two very on the surface jobs, the job that they have to do even if they're single. No matter what, a man has to provide for himself, he has to protect himself. But because we've allowed for men to go with that definition, and because women have agreed to this, we forget and men assume that protection is just about physical protection. Like, what about mental and emotional protection? What about protecting our relationship? What about protecting me feeling safe coming to you, us feeling safe with each other? It's not just physical protection. So that's why I say providing. Like, we have for many centuries, like we're coming out of this now. For many centuries, we have only required the bare minimum of men to provide and to protect physically, not to protect emotionally. And so, yeah, we're finally coming out of that. And I'm so excited to see it. And I'm grateful for my journey. I'm grateful to be in a space where, I mean, I feel like I've never looked for this. A man have never been able to impress me with money. Like when my ex husband was, when he finally started working and he did the Uno reverse card on me because I wasn't making any money. And I'm talking about a real Uno reverse card, y'all. Like, bro was like, I don't have to buy you flowers no more. I don't have to do nothing no more. He's like, I make all the money. And I'm like, the fact that you thought that that was going to move me when I got with you and you wasn't making more money than me. I was paying most of the bills. And then in order for you to get your license and get your trade, I paid all the bills. That's like a whole year of him going to school, and I paid all the bills. And I'm not like, I wasn't making money that was like, making us, wealth or anything. So it was just a normal call center job. And I was still able to maintain and do that while us getting married, having a huge wedding, having a huge honeymoon, all of that. And, oh, my ex husband was, I think he might have been on unemployment for some of that time. I feel like he was bringing a little bit of money. I think he was on unemployment. But, and then whenever it came for his turn to make more money, he was like, I don't have to show up in that way. And I was just like, that is incredible that you thought that money, that you paying all the bills now, was going to make a difference for me, because I've never been impressed by money. I am okay with making the sacrifice and doing what I got to do to make my own money from the things, my talents and my gifts, and the things that I want to do. And I think that it takes a special kind of person. I had a woman before, she was a friend, and she was sexually assaulted by her husband. She was with this man, they were fully in a full marriage. A spousal rape happens a lot. Like I said, 30 years ago, it was legal. And so this happened to her. And I was like, you need to leave. Like, it's time to go. We don't need to stay another hour. I'm coming to get you, yada, yada, yada. And she got so mad at me with encouraging her to leave. And she was like, I can't be like you, Dayla. Everybody can't be like you. Like, I need to have my things. I need to have the luxuries and the things that I want and the things that I need. And what was really crazy about this scenario is because she was making at least like $1,000 on her own. She was we both had been into the same business. And so she was making at least that, but I wasn't even making nothing. Like when I left my ex-husband, I was not making nada. My parents was like, "What are you going to do? You can't leave because you don't have any money." And I was like, "I don't care about that." But a lot of women are too weak to leave. And I wish that men that are so um hell bent on defending men, and it's sad that we have to say, consider your daughter, consider your sister. It's sad that to make a man have empathy about these subjects, we have to try and remind you to think about your daughters. But I wish that there wasn't this whole stigma surrounding that, because yeah, women. I actually seen a man make this post the other day where he was like, women are treated very badly when they don't make money. It is a lot more dangerous for a woman in this world when she doesn't have money. And men will say stuff like, "Oh, she can just sell her body then," but then also you're shaming us for doing that. Like, so it's like there's always this double thing, when really we did need the feminist movement. We did need equality, because, or we do still need equality, because women do have to have our own money. You don't know what man is going to be physically abusive. Any man that is physically abusive, which, if you can agree that you don't know who's doing that, you don't know who's going to be financially abusive, because a physically abusive man is going to be financially abusive as well. If he is physically abusing someone, he is not going to let that money deposit on her bank account and let her do whatever she wants to do. It doesn't work like that. And if over 60% of women's homicides are committed by their married partners, then you can kind of do the math with, where I'm going with this. You don't know. It's not all men, but you don't know when. You don't know where. So I just wish that men didn't have this thing where it's like, I have to defend the male patriarch, like, because it's not about that. It's just about a human being needing to be able to leave a relationship whenever they want to leave. This is why I'm so big on this subject with my kids. I'm like, I want my kids to think that it's weird to get with a person, like to move in with a person and to get into a relationship when you don't have no money. This is how I teach my kids right now. I have 3 teenagers, and the way that I speak to them about their future relationships, I've been programming them to think that it doesn't make sense for me to move in with this man, or for me to move in with this woman, and I don't have no money. Because you guys, that is delusional. This is not even about gender. A man will get kicked out of their house or her house. If it's their house or her house, he getting kicked out if she's an immature woman and he doesn't have any money or he doesn't have enough. And a woman will be physically abused and go through so much when she doesn't have her own money. So yeah, that's what I wanted to come on here and share. There's just a lot of myths surrounding this. We're so black and white. I wanted to tell my personal story because I think it's important to see what real marriage is. The way that, in order for me to help my ex-husband get in a better position in his career, in his life, which was to also benefit me and our kids, I needed to work some. I needed to take that on because he did not do that. I got with someone that did not have a trade and did not and that was not financially prepared for that. Now, you could go with the way that we talk nowadays, where we act like everybody was supposed to be perfect and make the perfect decision in the right, because it's like, oh, well, you should have chosen a man that already had a trade, but that's all you got to do. Like, it's not realistic. It's not realistic that you're going to get married at 20 years old and also be aware in a society that doesn't teach you that you shouldn't be going off of this man's potential. A society that teaches women to go off of a man's potential. So that's not really realistic. But what is realistic is you getting with someone, and whether they're making more money or the same money or whatever, you having to make a sacrifice sometimes, things changing, things being different. And maybe you have to pick up something, or maybe, that is very realistic. So I wanted to highlight that, and I also wanted to highlight the part of my story of me leaving my ex-husband and going through my own um, finding myself financially, like finding out what business was going to be mine, like what is my thing that I'm supposed to be doing here, and all these different businesses that I've had, and my children, the beautiful journey of my children being able to watch me do this, to watch me build what I'm building, and to see me not making money and trying new things and then making money and having a solid thing. Um, yeah, I wanted to highlight that in the midst of this trend, where women have to get with a man that's already ready, and where women are having like there's like two different conversations happening. There's like the broke woman conversation and there's the wealthy woman conversation. And the broke woman conversation is, I need a man to take care of me. Where is he? He has to take care of me. He has to do everything. And the woman that already has created wealth for herself is like, I need a man with these morals and these values, and he can't have this and he can't have that, and he does need to be accomplished, and like, not to make it seem like wealthy women just don't care about a man with money, but I'm just saying that the way that so many of us make it like a forefronter thing, like a lot of women are just putting themselves back into history, back into the past, where the priority was you getting with a man that makes all this money and that is, you know, taking care of you. When if you, again, I know I sound repetitive, but I feel like this is something that people don't really grasp. If you were wealthy and making your own money, that would most likely not be a priority to you. And that's deep. That's deep. So let me know if y'all have any questions. That last comment came in like 20 minutes later after what we were talking about. So I'm so sorry if I missed any of y'all's comments. But yeah, I wanted to come on here and share a little bit of my story. I'm gonna tell y'all how I stopped working, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do another live like maybe tomorrow, and I'll share. Have I shared that? No, I haven't shared that. My last day at work. And like I said, man, like it's pretty crazy this entrepreneur life. You have good days, you have bad days. It's not this beautiful ride that everybody makes it seem, because entrepreneurship is so trendy right now. I don't believe that everybody is supposed to be an entrepreneur. I don't believe that everybody is going to create generational wealth. Most of us, if you go back to the beginning of this video, most of us do not know the true definition of generational wealth. It is not you creating wealth and passing it to your kids or leaving it for your kids. It's your children passing on the wealth to their children, and so on and so forth. You know what else is this is a cool, like a fun fact. Um, the way that wealth being passed on is determined in like studies, or another way to say this is the way that poverty being passed on is determined in economic studies. They don't base it off of the parent. They base the prediction of whether this family is about to go through another, swarm of poverty, or if they're going to be passing on wealth. They base that on the grandparents. That's a fun fact. They based it on, this is me showing y'all like the study of economics and wealth. Like how I was saying earlier that people don't actually study it. Like we're not really like reading books and articles, so we're just talking about generational wealth, like legacy, because it just sounds good. But yeah, when you go down that rabbit hole, you find these, stats and different information and stuff. And yeah, one of the things is that they look at a grandparent and they say if this set of grandparents were in poverty, then most likely there's going to be another 5 to 10 years. There's like I can't remember the numbers, but I thought that was interesting. It shows you that for some of you watching this, it really is up to you. Like you came from grandparents that were in poverty, they passed on poverty. It really is up to you to break that cycle. That's amazing. Okay, sorry, let me read this like this. Hold on, I'm gonna put this book up when I'm reading it, so y'all ain't gotta look at. Investing in the stock market and crypto is extremely underrated in the Black community, but we have no issue buying. So, woo, baby, you are preaching. I could get up and do a praise dance on that one. Crypto, trading, investing, even betting, even like, you know, betting online. What do they call that? Parlay or whatever. All that is so slept on for us. You're absolutely right. Don't even get me started on this one. Because see, I have to do a whole another live. I really don't want to get into it on this live since I want to stay on the subject, but this kind of is the subject. From Senegal to Haiti to the Caribbean to like wherever to America, you see Black people never missing a beat on holidays. When it comes to holidays and us looking open casket sharp, us having the gifts, us having the food, we're overeating. We got the food. We have like we be y'all here in Senegal. It is a holiday every goddamn weekend. Okay, for sure every month they have a huge holiday, and they be up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning getting their haircuts, getting fabric made and tailored, getting their wigs put on their foreheads, like all of that, okay? Getting so ready and organizing for holidays to look good. But we are not doing that for Black businesses, for like not even on no trendy vending stuff either, because I'm tired of that too. There's a whole thing about invest in Black businesses, and then it just turns into us like a bunch of Black businesses that are overpriced. You can't even invest in it, or you can't even, you know, buy things. And then it's just all about vending and getting sales. But again, I want to get into this into another live, but what you said is very real. And absolutely, we can if we want to. You know how women be like, if he want to, he can, or if he wanted to, he will. That's us. That's us. We're just choosing not to. We are so blinded by the holidays. I survived off my Bitcoin piece while I was in Senegal. I was trying to tell them, but they'll say suddenly my English has left me. Oh my goodness. Listen, I'm so big on I'm big on crypto. I'm big on trading. I'm big on these things. I study these things. I just did some betting on the last few Senegalese games. But here's the thing. I'm not good at it. Like I don't know. I feel like people talk about it, but they don't really know how it's done. And there's like because I've researched it, I actually had a Senegalese friend here that introduced me to it back in like 2023. And that's how I got introduced to it. That's how I went down the rabbit hole. And I was like, oh my God, this is something that is so easy. This is so amazing. You can, build this wealth and make this money for, so easily. But it seems like after it was trending with like, the NFTs, like all that was happening, it seems like after that, so many people learned about it. And then it just became like this sealed thing where it's like, it's either so much information on where to go to find out what to do that it's overwhelming, or within that sea or that ocean of all that information, you only have a select few people that are genuine and that really know what they're doing and that actually have experience, not just with the trading and the crypto, but actually making money. Like, not just actually doing it, but making money from it. So I still haven't done it, and I've downloaded, like, I don't even remember my freaking passwords to my wallets that I've had. Like, I've done the thing. I got so close. I wanted to write a book. I still want to write a book on crypto and investing, like for Black people. because I'm a really good teacher. I'm really good at explaining things. And if you guys don't notice, I like to take really complicated subjects, difficult subjects, and I like to simplify them and make them make sense, like put them in a different perspective. So when I was learning about crypto and I realized how easy it was, and I'm like, oh my God, investing seems so difficult. It seems like it's something that only the big dogs can do when you got to already make a bunch of money and have this circle. And I'm like, this is it. This is all that crypto is, you know? So yeah, I want to teach it, but I got to know how to do it first. I have to have experience with doing it first. I miss them parties though, especially baby showers. I, I wore the same dress to all of them. That is funny. Oh, you learned on YouTube. Yeah, they will party, man. They will party, and just like us in America, they will party all their money out and don't have no money. You know, Christmas comes around, we spend all of our money, then we're stressing until income tax. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. And it definitely is stopping us from what people talk about, that they think, like what they think they're talking about, but what they're really talking about, which is not the generational wealth. It's stopping us from creating the wealth to pass to that first generation, to pass to our children. The generational thing is a lot deeper than that, but yeah. Senegalese ain't doing, oh wait, ain't doing all day. They have maids, so why not learn something? Exactly. That's real. It's a couple of people that end up coming up though. Like my homeboy that introduced it to me, he had a Senegalese friend. He ended up moving. I have two friends that had Senegalese friends that ended up getting into crypto and like taking themselves out of poverty and like moving to Europe, and they're just living off of crypto. So what's the route that you did on YouTube? Because I feel like I've done it all. I've been down the rabbit holes. Like when I research something, I'm in that thing. So I've listened to audibles. What haven't I done? I feel like it's just a matter of like finding someone that knows what they're doing and then like sticking to that person's strategy and their step to step thing, you know? Like obviously at this point, I feel like I have the structure of what to do. I just need to do it. I need to know like the apps and I said I would start with maybe like a dummy account, like I forgot what you call that. But like the thing that has like the fake crypto and stuff. Which I have some Bitcoin. Let me see what my Bitcoin is doing. I haven't looked at this in a long time. It was going up after, I remember right after Trump became president this last time. It had been like up there. I don't know what that has to do with that, but mm, I have not looked at this. That thing down. It's definitely down right now. So yeah, y'all. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm gonna get out of here. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this live, hit that thumbs up and share. If you enjoyed this stream, you can share. And yeah, y'all, ladies, let's stop with this. I need a man to take care of me. He gotta take care of me. Like all of us are not gonna find a man that is making more money than us. It's not realistic, especially where we know that women are the fastest growing in finances right now. Like over the last 10 years, we've been skyrocketing. Your man might end up making less than you. And I promise you, as a woman that is in wealth, like when you get into your wealth, you're not going to care so much about that. You're going to want him to have his own, of course, but you're not going to feel like the world is falling apart if you don't find a man. Like, like you won't be able to live because that's how we're treating it. And it's only when I talk to entrepreneur women, like women that have even made more money than me in my business, like way more money than me. It's only when I talk to them that I get this understanding of what I'm explaining. because they're in the position that Kiki and them were talking about, like not needing it. So not desperately, sorry y'all, not needing it. So not desperately being like, I have to have this. What the heck? Where is my, okay, I'm gonna read your comment in just a second. I'm gonna get out of here though. Seriously, guys. I know I said that already. What in the world? Why is my digi not working? Maybe that's my cue. Chris Sane taught me another since COVID, being cheap is never took his class. Being cheap is never took his class, but I'm going to join Trump tank in the market. Being cheap is never. It was a typo there, but I feel like I know what you're saying because one thing about me is I will invest in myself. Like I spend money on programs for real. The biggest program and the last program that I paid for was well over $1,000. And this wasn't for crypto. It was for um personal growth, tapping into your intuition and the quantum world and like really, really tapping in, disciplining yourself and stuff. All right, y'all. This thing ain't working. This thing ain't working. Let me call my homegirl real quick and see when she's going to be home. I gave this dude my number, y'all. I forgot that I gave this dude my number a few hours ago. This dude at the store. See, this is why you end up blocking this as soon as y'all talking. Cause why are you blowing me up? Why are you calling me back to back like that? My name is Innocent. The guy you gave your number to today. Why is your name? Your name is Innocent. I don't even. Mm-mm. Y'all, everything be making me say, I ain't gonna be able to. This ain't gonna work. I ain't gonna be able to do this. Your name is Innocent. You're not innocent. That's it. That's so funny. Yeah, the kids and I are in the car right now, y'all. I'm so glad you guys stayed here and stayed tapped in on this live with me. I appreciate it. Uh-oh. I'm gonna try to call her again in just a minute. So, mm-hmm. You gotta be kidding me right now for my camera to not be showing up. I'm gonna, okay, so Chris Sane. Chris Sane. Who is Chris Sane? Chris Sane seems familiar. Hold on. Hello. Come back. Come right back. What's up, girl? Yeah, they home. Mhm. I don't think so. Titus, did somebody come for the door? Someone come to the door? For the door. No, I don't think so. Okay, nope. Oh, hold on. You need to fix it? For the door, for the front door. You need to fix it? Yeah. No. Okay. Okay. No. You said what? Okay, Titus. Yes, I was. Yeah, he was sweet. He was nice. I just got like some tortillas and some stuff to make pasta today. So yeah, some pasta noodles and stuff. Girl crawling out that window. I said, when you said earlier, when you were like, this is so embarrassing, I was like, oh, she probably just feel like that because, it's her house, it's her neighborhood. But then when it was my turn, I said, "Ooh, this is embarrassing." And these motherfuckers right here next door just staring, just watching me go in and out. And I'm like, and I had to wait because it's dudes walking by. I don't want these dudes to see me like crawling in the window. So I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Okay, when you coming home? That's why I was calling. Nothing. Okay. Yes. We got you. We got you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Call them so we can all just do it real quick. Okay. Oh, what? How? Okay, wait. Tell y'all might do what? Just say it. Say it again. Girl, who? But your husband gonna be here. Oh, it's not tonight. Okay, okay, okay. Well, of course we are. We need that. Okay. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. Y'all, that's my home girl. I'm gonna tell y'all more about this experience. I'm sure John is gonna come on here and go live with me for sure. But I'm gonna I'm gonna share with y'all. Y'all, we got locked out the house. I don't know what happened. In Senegal, the doors are so weird. Every door has a key to it. Every door in a Senegalese home has a key to it. And it even has a door, like every door has a key to like both sides of the door. Like it's just so extreme. There's got to be an overpopulation of keys in this country because it's just so unnecessary, all these damn keys. So I can't even tell you what happened. Like I took the key out of her door, I put it in the front door to lock the door. It's the only, like, I took it out from the inside and then we shut the door and I locked the door with that same one key. And that one key has locked us outside of her house. And because the doors are just, they different, like they don't have the things that we have on our doors. So you can't just open the door easy like that. Like it's a whole thing when you don't have the key. It's a lot, y'all. We've been. I'm gonna have to just stay tuned for my vlog, okay? Because I'm gonna talk about this in the vlog. It's been so crazy. The neighbors, they are just being a-holes about it. But yeah, we were like locked out for 3 hours, and then now we can't go through the front door, so we have to crawl through the window. Oh my God, it's so crazy. I had to go to the grocery store earlier. Crawling through the window is crazy. We on here for 2 hours. That's what I'm talking about. I love streaming with you guys and talking with you guys. Make sure that your notifications are on. Come in. Kai. Look how that was just nasty watching that. I'm live. Oh, girl. This charger was not working. Just hold on. Let me charge it because Ishalin had to make it work. It wasn't working for a minute. And that's scary. Um, yes. So hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this live. Share. It doesn't matter how long it was. If somebody is supposed to watch it, they will. And also, if you are interested in my mentorship program or any of my other services, my MDR sessions, I'm also a painless birth worker. All these things you can find on my website at earthisschool.com. And until next time, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to try to wait just a couple of seconds because I feel so bad when I come out of here and you guys are saying goodbye. Or you guys have like a last thing to say. So let's say our goodbyes now. There's some type of delay. It might be the software that I'm using. But yeah, I really do appreciate you guys for coming in. What I'm supposed to be doing is streaming every single day. So make sure that your notifications are on, because at least every day that I can, you will see my face. I get so many messages. There's so many things that come to me, so many subjects. Shout out to you guys that are supporting my Substack as well. My writing career by following my blog and the things that I write. I write so much, you guys, I never run out of subjects because they're always coming to me. And if I don't go live or hit the record button or write like right away, then I lose it. I won't even remember what the subject was. So I want to share these things. Asim, what's up? Yes, thank you, thank you. You are so welcome. I'm gonna message you back too. I seen your message earlier. All right, y'all. Love you guys. Peace out.